Good morning here from Southern California, here in Irvine, California. Great soccer park as we're excited here for the World Masters Ultimate Championships. Great Britain taking on Australia here in this Masters Women's Quarter-Final bracket play matchup. We're excited here for this second round competition between both of these sides. In Australia, Great Britain winning 15-8 early on. We got this 4-5 matchup with Great Britain 4-3 and Australia 2-5.
And it was a round-robin tournament, so all of these teams played each other. Seedings changed up a little bit. As you can see, that Great Britain moved up from number 6, but Australia doing not quite as well, losing to Japan early in the tournament. And this is where we stand now. Quarterfinals. And this matchup is one of the ones that I've really been looking forward to.
Joined in the booth here with Katie Killebrew, Amanda Kaliande. We're really excited here about this matchup. We've got two different sides here, and the matchups, I think, for Great Britain, a player to watch is Alex Nevitt. I mean, she had 6 goals earlier on in that matchup against the two teams where we saw Great Britain win 15-8 and showed their dominance and prowess in there in that matchup.
Alex Nevitt is certainly a player to watch, has a nose for the end zone. And I think that that's one of the things that Great Britain is going to want to do in this game is really lean into those players, the chemistry that they've built, and keep working really hard to play the same system. As we get underway with the first pull, Great Britain receives and immediately shoots it deep.
And a deep shot indeed to start us off there, 1-0. Quick work there for Great Britain.
And that's exactly what I was talking about in the open. When we're talking about Great Britain, this is a team that really likes to play in their system and work in that deep space. So this day where there's almost no wind, first thing in the morning, the legs are fresh, or as fresh as they can be after multiple days of playing.
I mean, just a quick start to it, an immediate deep shot down the field, and then Hannah Bonney just racing towards the end zone for the score. I mean, that's as good as it gets for a start early on here in this quarter final bracket play. So we're going to get our first look here at Australia's O-line.
This Australia team had tryouts and was made for selection, but as Australia didn't put together a great Grandmasters team, this means, or Grandmasters team, this means that there's a real variety of ages on this Australia squad. So they have a couple of players, one player who turned 30 at this tournament, and some that would qualify for the next tournaments.
So far, looks like Australia there in that horizontal stack, really working amongst that back line of handlers. Good downfield defense here from Great Britain. A nice poach D in the lane. Great Britain looking to run. And a deep shot immediately put up. And not enough OI to give the receiver a chance to get it. So a gift back to Australia.
It's a really flat defense from Great Britain. And remember that these teams have played before. So this is very clearly saying, like, we know what you want to do, Australia, and we're going to stop you from doing that. I really love throwing a zone on a first point, being like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, it's a different look for sure. And Great Britain so far really causing havoc. There's nothing really down the field.
That handler core of Gemma Coleman, Laura Perryman, and KP, Karen Baker, but her maiden name was P. So,
and there's good movement with that handler core, as you were talking about, really working it, and they've done a good job so far of not staying stagnant. And oh my goodness, a backdoor D.
That was a layout block from Claire Sharman.
Looks like it's going to be no call, no foul.
The transition defense from Great Britain going to person and then essentially baiting that block. Great work here. So it looks like a foul upfield. Two players colliding is what's going to stop play there. Uncontested.
Yeah, you made a great point. I mean, they were playing solid zone defense, and to switch like that to matchup defense has allowed them to get 2 backdoor blocks, which has really propelled their counterattack here for a break chance. Now a deep shot put up into space, a beautiful backhand, picture perfect into the end zone for the score. Looks like that is Cheska Weddle with the goal.
That was just a beautiful put. I really love the spacing that was thrown into.
You see that backdoor run-through block there by Sharman.
And that put was really well timed into space. 2 defenders close to in the area, but that receiver did a really good job of positioning so that the hands could go back towards the disc, and that is a break for Great Britain.
So that was Joyce Kwok there with the dime ball into the end zone to put Great Britain up 2-0 here early on in this quarterfinal matchup here in bracket play. So let's see what kind of answer Australia has. I mean, we always talk about how both teams are really trying to trade punches here early on, feel each other out in this heavyweight battle, but right now, a couple of jabs going Great Britain's way. Nice little flood movement here from Australia.
And now we're seeing a person defense from Great Britain, different from the previous point, and they're missing sometimes on switches, or they just weren't having a smooth transition, and a little drop in that inside space gives Great Britain another break opportunity.
Yeah, Gemma Coleman not able to secure that one, so another break opportunity here for Great Britain. A swing pass, using the full width of the field, Great Britain. No mark, and just an errant throw, read the whole way. Is a great D there by Yuki Yamaguchi.
Yuki is a really great player.
So Australia looking to go back the other way on the whole. Coleman here with the rock. And upline to Yamaguchi there for the score as Australia is on the board. 2-1, Great Britain.
Yeah, Yuki does a really good job of giving and going into that upline space. What I love about what Australia did there is they actually started to put on more defensive pressure, and that's what they're going to have to do, right? At this level, players are not just necessarily going to throw the disc away or drop the disc, especially if there's no wind. So you have to exert defensive pressure and change the shape of what's going on. And you can see here great pressure from Great Britain, just really trying to squeeze it into that space. And Yuki Yamaguchi doing a great job of reading the play there and then pushing upfield. And you can see scoring in the background right there.
Yeah, it almost seemed like Alice Denzel-Young had all the time in the world right there to make that throw. She didn't really have a mark. And to your point, Australia was forcing them a different look defensively, you know. And that's what led to Yamaguchi jumping in that lane and causing that turnover. So we get a look here at Great Britain's O-line. And a pass down the sideline, having to toe the sideline. Is it inbounds?
Certainly the effort there to keep the foot down. Whether or not that foot crossed the line is harder to see.
Looks like a no contest.
And again, for viewers who have maybe been used to watching Ulti-World streams of broadcasts with USA Ultimate rules, this is in fact a WFDF tournament, and so it's all player officiated. The officials that you see walking around are game advisors, so they're there for rules knowledge or to provide perspective, but are not actually making active calls.
Yes, we see some good movement here from Great Britain as they're working the disc around. Now, big OI backhand to the front corner pylon for the score. 3-1 Great Britain.
And that was captain for Great Britain, Sophie Bevan, with the throw.
I believe Carla Link there punching it in for the goal.
And that was really good. We saw Link, the player, towing it on this sideline earlier. This was just a first missed throw, way too close to the sideline, but you can see looking at it again, I think clearly inbounds, keeps that foot down while keeping possession. And then Link on the other side here, this backhand blading back in towards the receiver. Really good work using the sideline to sideline motion there for Great Britain.
Yeah, and I think a good thing to point out, I mean, sometimes a play like that can maybe derail a team's momentum, but they never looked too rushed there on that point. Just continued to work through their system and made their offense, that hold, look easy. Centered. Once again, Great Britain in a matchup person defense with kind of a poach in the lane, and another run through block there by Claire Sharman.
Claire Sharman is a menace. I played with her in college, not at the same college, but we always matched up against each other, and she is so good at making it seem like that player is open and then closing the space quickly, and they are not.
So a quick turn back the other way. Good pressure defensively by Jade O'Callaghan. But like you said, it's got to be such a reassurance for a coach when you've got a dominant defensive player that can just change possession at will with their pressure. So Australia having to work it out of their own end zone.
And we're seeing this flat cup look again from Great Britain, forcing Australia to try to swing it wide, and then when they're getting there, the upfield defenders are doing a good job of finding that space, but that one is just a little bit too floaty. Great reel in there.
Yeah, that was Genevieve Woods with the sky with two hands.
She says, I only get called Genevieve when I'm in trouble. And she was not in trouble there. Jen Woods, really great reception with under pressure from Sharman, as we see another floaty one going up, intended for Woods, and again reeled in. That is a fun matchup to watch between Sharman and Woods.
Yeah, going back and forth. Australia on the doorstep, an inside shot towards the end zone, towed in. Believe that is Yamaguchi once again punching it in for Australia.
Yeah, a couple of turns, but Australia really finding those holes in that defense, and you have to give credit to Woods for the catch there, because the pressure from Sharman was really strong but fair, and that was just being out-grabbed by a really excellent receiver in that deep space. Not great throws. This is the first run-through block from Sharman on that underneath, and then here overthrow a little bit high for those players, and then this grab coming up on the far side. The Australia throws are a little bit floaty. You can see them kind of like a flying saucer go up and then float down. In that case, Yamaguchi reeled it in well, but sometimes that can give the defender time to run underneath it. So the shape that the Australia throwers are throwing with, I don't think is necessarily like ideal, but they punched it in. They scored 2-3.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So far working for Australia. Let's see what kind of answer Great Britain has. A nice pull, just inbounds. See the pressure there on the mark into a later stall count. Going to have to work it up the line. That's a turn. Australia looking to go to work. On the doorstep, punching it in. Yamaguchi with the assist. And then I believe Helen Sucka-Jones there with the score.
Yeah, Sucka-Jones did a really good job of firing into that space for the end zone. That point almost happened so fast that I couldn't process this break. But this was the turn, just almost thrown to the Australia player who read it so much better. And then 5 quick passes to the end zone. I don't think that Great Britain ever had a chance to set their defense. That was really good work by the Australians. You want to make sure that no game gets away from you, so getting that break back really quickly is very helpful. And
that's huge. I mean, that's why you have a great puller, right? That was a great pull deep into the end zone that landed inbounds and pinned Great Britain back on their own end line. So you have a high stall count, and you're forced to put up some kind of junk, and Australia was able to take advantage.
Yeah, although we do see a smaller line rotation from Australia. Yukie Yamaguchi playing almost all of those points. We're seeing a lot of the same faces as it looked like a timeout has been taken. Unsure which team took that, but honestly, I'd be fine with either of the coaches taking that, right? I think that's a good decision. It's warm out here today out of Calais. It is, there's not breeze, but like the sunlight is so direct.
No cloud cover.
Yeah. There is no cover. And you have to think that maybe that favors Australia. They're used to sometimes having that kind of weather, in Great Britain less so, you know.
So let's see how both of these teams kind of adjust to this weather with the sun beating down on them. Mm-hmm. But it's a beautiful day here in Southern California, here in Irvine at Great Soccer Park. Just excellent weather. Really hasn't been too much wind. I mean, we've seen just a mastery of throws all week this week, and it's been put on display here in Irvine.
Taking a breather, both teams now having gotten a break. I think that Australia is Great Britain is still up 1 break. Trying to listen. I feel like as a coach, I always want to know what other huddles sound like. I want to know, what are they saying? What is the message to the team? What is the tactical change? Because we've seen Great Britain do that kind of flat zone that really stopped Australia in the beginning of the points. But now we might see something a little bit different from Australia as we see them spreading out and kind of trying to stop that pull play, put themselves in the lane.
Nice.
And a player unguarded in the middle of the field.
Good recovery there for Great Britain. A floaty throw pulled down. Just taking her eyes off the disc there. Catherine Gainey not able to collect that one, so going back to Australia, a break opportunity. A deep shot, put up a backhand, racing towards it is Woods. Corrals the disc right on the doorstep of the end zone.
Yeah, Jen Woods is a threat in the end zone.
Good fake. And now wide open in the end zone there for the score. A break there for Daisy Uwan.
Yeah, Ewan is really good at putting herself in that back pocket, right? I think that in transition, Australia is doing a better job than Great Britain when they get that turn of getting immediately into not not necessarily an offense, right? Their stack doesn't look perfect. It's not a straight line. But every player is putting themselves in a position to receive the disc, and their eyes are on the thrower. So if you're a thrower and you get this turn, we're getting another look at that drop by Great Britain. There's a lot of players, you can see their heads on a swivel, and this reception by Woods, looking and the hot hands in the back corner, finding the space. Really great job there by Australia.
Australia takes their first lead of the game, 4-3.
I was just going to say that.
Great minds think alike.
There we go.
So what kind of answer does Great Britain have to taking their first deficit there of this game? Trying to make quick work, get some yardage up the field. They're doing so. A shot put up, looking for Sharman, and she corrals it. A great look there for Great Britain. Sharman gets on the board.
Really good work there from Great Britain. They immediately punch back with that clean hold. And I love that they're kind of embracing the chaos and spread out of Australia's defense. That Sharman just goes deep from the near side, and they find these holes in the middle, and this is just an unguarded throw. And I think that even if you have a defender that is that close, it's really difficult. Like, as a receiver, you want a disc where you can catch it. But if you have a defender who's close, but the thrower has no mark, the thrower can put the disc, right? They have the time and brain space to see where that space is to put it right to that thrower. So even if it's closely contested, if one doesn't have a defender, it's almost a gimme.
In the States, we'd call that Sharman strong. She's able to just box out her defender and come up with it. She's made her difference here on this field for Great Britain.
Here we go, GB! Let's go, GB!
Ola Kulikowski with the pull for Great Britain.
Looks like a matchup defense, but some poaching in the lane, almost that flat cup look, but they're breaking out of it now. Sharman getting fingers on it again, but stayed alive, and they work it down the line to Woods for the score.
And that was really great work, and I think patience from Australia, because there's, like you said, you were like, is it a zone, is it matchup? There's clearly switches happening. They're looking for those opportunistic moments. And before, I think Australia hadn't been able to find the open hands, that person who was unguarded. And in this case, as they're moving the point of attack further and faster, they're finally flowing, and you can see that like Woods was making that undercut with Sharman underneath, and Sharman really put in full effort to try to get that D. You can see going out of your frame, and Woods just stops, turns, and changes direction, and Sharman, because she put so much effort into that D, couldn't catch up. So that's really great awareness by Woods to take advantage.
Yeah, and Liana Woods and Edwards, with an excellent job of pursuing the disc after the tip. Gives Australia the lead 5-4. And early on here in this bracket play day, back and forth contest. Exactly what we wanted from up here in the booth as that pull goes out of bounds.
Yeah, Sabrina Morrow was the puller. Sometimes I think that teams will want, especially if they're setting a defense, to maybe want to pull it out of bounds in order to get that defense set. Or we've seen roller pulls where they'll roll out the sideline. But that one I don't think was intentional. But we do see Australia now coming out with a zone. Those 3 players forming a cup, trying to trap Great Britain on this near sideline. Really good find with that forehand blade to the far side.
Yeah, just early confidence in the stall count here for Great Britain, and really opening up the width of the field with their throws. Give and go dump near sideline. So continue to churn some yardage.
Body and Bevan are the 2 handlers that are crashing and kind of putting it to each other. That elevator pass just going over the hands of the receiver. And another one. It's like they're playing keep away until that.
Crossfield shot just short of the end line and dropped.
Oh, too much time to think about it. Those 2 receivers were being too nice. No, you catch it. No, you catch it. And then nobody catches it.
Just that one. Unfortunate there for Great Britain. Australia looking to capitalize. No mark. So a deep shot will be put up. This one too floaty. Oh, and almost a second effort to race back towards it was Ewan.
Yeah, intended for Link. Or sorry, D'd by Link. And dropped by Link.
So another break opportunity here for Australia. What was once a pretty clean first couple of points. We've seen some turnovers back and forth.
And D'd by Bevan.
Now Great Britain looking to run. Another deep shot. This one is floaty and a good box out there by Morrow.
Several turns in this point.
This one floating. 50-50 and coming through back doors, Bodie. So they continue to work it into this end zone. This one put into the back line, still floating, and it will go out of bounds. Too much float on it. So we're seeing our first kind of gruesome long point here in this game.
Yeah, Australia started this point with that pull out of bounds with the zone. And for me, the shape of the throws is really letting players down. The disc is just falling out of the air or sitting too long, slightly out of bounds. It's just an inexactitude.
Yeah, not sure if the heat is playing a factor in those longer points and more inefficient decisions.
And actually, it almost looks like Great Britain is throwing a counter zone of their own on the turn, so their offensive line knows how to throw this space. You can see those players off the disc, not necessarily guarding anyone. That blade makes a connection to Morrow.
So Australia past midfield, another blade air bending its way over that zone look. Now a couple yards from the end zone and a straight denial there from Great Britain.
And that is the second D in this point by Sophie Bevan. She is one of the captains of this team, and that's one of the reasons why she continues to be a leader on this point. She is a player who will keep running and fighting the entire time. Link almost drops it again as we see Australia settle into this zone.
Good switch across the field.
Yoinked out of the air by Bevan.
And I think that's what Great Britain really needs to capitalize more, is using the full width of the field as they're churning up yardage now. And into the end zone there for the score. Hannah Bodie.
Yeah, Alex Nevitt was the thrower there. Nevitt has, we talked about a little bit at the Open, is a player with a nose for the end zone, but getting an assist stat for that one.
So 5-5 so far here in this contest, and that last point, a really long and gruesome point here for both sides.
There are so many turns in this point. I mean, there were great Ds, but honestly, I wish there didn't have to be so many Ds because there were so many turns that were also just missed throws. Like if a different choice was made instead of this floaty over the top nonsense, then then they wouldn't have to run so much. I mean, look at how long it takes that disc to come down. That one lands out of bounds, but it's still just the spin on the disc, the way that it's floating makes it really hard for the receivers, and that's on the throwers because a lot of them aren't under a lot of marking pressure. It's just they're trying to, put it into space or throw it nice, like throw it to the player. I promise it works better.
With purpose. It was an ad nauseum of turnovers back and forth. Like you said, with purpose, make the throws direct. Don't give an opportunity for the defense to make a play on it. So we see short on this near sideline. Australia with just a midfield to go. Some contact.
I think that was you stepped on my foot. Ouch.
Downfield defense has been pretty good here for Great Britain. Good pressure on that active mark. Australia now a throw bending into the end zone, but racing towards it. Some contact.
We've got a hand signal.
Yep, foul called.
I believe that was Sharman again trying to make a play on the disc.
Yeah, Sam Fisk making the call as we see them reenacting the play. It looks like saying, "You hit my hand." We can see this disc flying to the far side. Sharman making up a lot of ground. The sun glinted off the disc there, but it did look to me like Sharman hit the disc first. That is another look at it. The sparkle off of that reflective surface could not have come at a more inopportune moment. But that is game official Brian Bradburn, known as Burns, who is going to treat this as a foul contest. Our game advisors providing some feedback on that. But the amount of ground that Claire Sharman made up to even make that play was really impressive.
Yeah, she's got wheels for sure, able to make up that space. So disc will be sent back here, and then we'll be with Lara Perryman. Perryman looking for a reset, having trouble. Finally able to get the swing off.
Yeah, Great Britain again doing that poach into the open side lane off the handler to try to stop that motion. Really good marks from Great Britain. They're very wide and they're making Australia think about the throws that they're throwing.
Inside shot, just a couple yards from the end zone. Yamaguchi working, trying to free up, and a little button hook to open herself up in the end zone, and she's jacked up right now. As Australia takes the lead 6-5.
Yeah, and that was a hold for Australia, but they really had to work for that one. The pressure off of Great Britain is making Australia have to throw a lot of throws. We saw Great Britain getting those turns earlier in the game, right? So they're still playing great defense, but Australia is playing a little bit more patient and finding that space.
All smiles currently here from Australia. They're amped up.
And this is another look at that turn where Claire Sharman goes to get a D
There's some contact.
Clearly contact after that. I think that that's fine to treat it as a foul contest, especially because the players don't have the same perspective that we did with Yamaguchi getting another score, her third for Australia.
Yeah, really leaving her mark here on this game. So far, very much different results than that first matchup we saw between these two sides.
Yeah, and Yuki Yamaguchi is a Japanese player who's now a student in Wollongong and has played with Mud in the past and at WCCs in Cincinnati with them. So has been has significant World Games experience.
Inside throw, blading through, not able to find the target. Short field now for Australia for a break. Looks like Australia looking to get into their red zone set. Yamaguchi in the backfield. Gets the open swing. Looks like a small ball, little dominator set between the handlers. Inside, dug up. Yamaguchi pivoting. Needs an outlet. Elects to go backwards. This one up for grabs, and Deed straight down.
Yeah, Bevan with another D, and I think that that's Australia just trying to throw over the top as opposed to doing it with their legs. They're trying to do it with their throws, and I don't think that that's always serving them as we are off. Link choosing to pick up and not walk it to the front of the end zone, which definitely caught Australia looking.
Yeah, Gainey had a little more time on that. I believe she could have maybe watched that one go down, but from her perspective, I'm sure the sun was in her eyes.
Yeah, that's maybe the second or third drop I've seen from Gainey as Australia turns it over on the first throw.
So Great Britain, another opportunity offensively. Gainey able to reel this one in. Same spot. Now some more confidence here from Great Britain as they're working the disc. And around OI to the front corner pylon there for the score. Looks like that is 26 Alex Nevitt getting on the scoreboard there.
Yeah, and throw from Bevan is good there. It's interesting as we see this game now. Great Britain up 7-6. We are seeing these teams settle in. We're seeing, this is also, just as a reminder, they played each other in pool play. They played each other on the second day of the tournament 2 or 3 days ago. Sometimes it all blurs together. But this morning, they're having to learn this team, and as they're learning, we're seeing that they're having to hit narrower and narrower spaces, and that was the D by Bevan that gave Great Britain the disc. And a break.
I believe that was a hold there for Great Britain. So 6-6. Because Australia had that short field looking for a break opportunity and they weren't able to capitalize. So Australia trying to retake a lead. And a turn, but there's going to be contact. So disc will go back.
Yeah, clearly up and kind of through the arms. If both players are going up, the players are entitled to their vertical space. So treating that as a foul contest and sending it back.
So Perryman here with the rock for Australia. Quick swing. as they continue to work down the far sideline. Having trouble, high stall count, gonna elect to go down the sideline, and Sharman finishing touches on the D.
Making sure that no one could make a hero play at the end. It looks like a violation, also maybe on the throw. It may or may not be a stall call.
Maybe a foul, some contact.
Oh, a foul, yes.
This Baker contestant saying, hey, I don't make bad throws. You must have fouled me.
And I think that the mark has a point there, that the contact came after the disc was released, and after a conversation it looks like the players came to that same conclusion. So the turnover is going to stand where it was smacked down, to be made sure, by Claire Sharman, if we remember. It's, yeah, right there. And Great Britain is going to take possession of this disc.
Thompson. Great Britain now having to go full field for this break opportunity. And a drop, just a clap catch that wasn't completed there, and now a short field for Australia. So they're taking their time, looking to set up the red zone. Swing around. Another swing around this one, but Sharman, it doesn't matter. 1v2. Oh my goodness.
Jodie Palmer snagged that in between two defenders. Such great focus in that wide space. Really good awareness.
She said sorry for the violence with that big time grab there in the end zone.
Yeah, and you can see Captain Jenna Thompson talking with the with a player about that miscue, about that clap catch, as we see a timeout being taken, as Australia now leads 7-6.
And once again, we'd love to thank you for tuning into this stream here on Ultiworld. 7-6 contest. If you're just tuning in, Australia going up there or Great Britain, as we take a second look at this poster. And one there for Australia as they take the lead, 7-6. Katie, is this so far what you expected? I mean, seeing that results, that the first time these two teams played, just straight dominance from Great Britain, but now we've got a back and forth contest where it matters the most here in quarterfinal bracket play.
I think this is what I expected. I mean, honestly, the 15-8 result maybe surprised me a little bit, mostly because Australia came in as the 3rd seed in the tournament. But talking to these players this morning, this is what I expected. I expected it to be a point for point. Every moment, every inch matters. And I think that we can feel that intensity starting to ramp up a little bit as we get towards half. Games are to 15, so we will take a point total half when one team gets to 8. And Australia on defense right now, but I bet you they want it to be them. Coming out of the timeout, they have a chance to be really tight on defense or throw something different that Great Britain hasn't seen. Again, no wind, just sunshine. So it's really like what you can do on the pitch right now.
A nice pull from Mullen. Pinning Great Britain back.
And we do see them coming out kind of in this zone again, really limiting that movement. Great job by Bevan to get it off the line. Now talking about crashing the cup.
They're going to need poppers. Great Britain has some contact.
My guess is that Bevan called foul on the contact, but may have been saying play on, which is why it's going to stay.
Needing an outlet, finding here on this near sideline. The over the top blade, no go. So a shorter field here for Australia.
You know, it's interesting that the choice there, I wonder if she just doesn't trust her flick, because for me, that forehand right through looked so open, but clearly thinking about that one a little bit too much, yielding a turnover and giving Australia a chance to break for half.
Couple of pumps from Mora looking upfield. This one's going to be tight, not able to secure the disc and toe the line. So a turnover back to Great Britain. Link to pick up here for Great Britain.
There are a lot of vertical lines. They're like the player line, the observer line, you know, the equipment line, and so she was like, which one do I bring it on?
Confusion not stopping the movement so far here of Great Britain, trying to work past midfield. Australia still in the deep of that zone look. Now we see the real movement, a bunch of give and goes. Link.
Yeah. That's funny. You can hear players saying cut towards, and I say that so much as a coach.
Link surveying. Looking at her options. High stall count, gonna work it up the line. That's a dangerous one. Rolling into the end zone. I believe there for the score.
Yeah, Thompson there securing that, the captain. That, I agree, really felt dangerous. The player from Australia coming through and closing down that space. And I think, you know, you could see that them hugging it out, but it's if that player hadn't chosen to stop, or if Thompson hadn't rolled, that could have yielded in a kind of gnarly collision, which you never want to see. But if we're looking at this turnover, they're throwing through the space and throwing out wide. The defense up front is there, but when we go through an offense, you can see that they go in this space, and you can see the defender poach off and really almost pull off, but if haven't, would have been a Thompson sandwich.
Yeah, good thing this is a non-contact sport. In contact sports, when you throw a pass like that, it's called a buddy pass. Like, hey, buddy, why are you putting me in this situation? And good job by Thompson to read that one out and keep the body control to avoid the contact.
Yeah, and another timeout. Again, I believe teams have two timeouts per half that they can use.
That level is on D, and the offense is just calm and chilling, and you find your spaces just like you did in that last point. Okay? We have got this. Right? We were in this position in multiple games in this tournament. All right, it's about control the controllables, believe in yourself, believe in this team. We've got it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to run through a brick wall there for Thompson. That fired me up. I could listen to that all day.
Yeah, and I agree that Great Britain's offense against that Australian zone looked better, but you could hear the sideline saying cut towards, which means like put yourself into space, and then when the thrower's looking at you, run vertically towards them into a space that they can catch. A lot of times in zones upfield, you know, you might run a lot as a cutter in a zone and never get the disc, so it sometimes feels like thankless work. But when you cut towards, you create options. But if you're standing there, then we've seen that Australia is looking to get that run through D. So we'll see what happens here.
Our next score will take us to halftime. See Sam Fisk there with the disc to send things away.
Yeah, and so Great Britain started the game on offense.
Beautiful pull there from Fisk. See if it will stay in bounds. Just going out. Coleman, the center here for Australia.
Yeah, and the point about them starting on offense meant that Australia is up 1 break currently. And if they punch this in, it will put them ahead going into half.
Having trouble now. Very active Mark. Gets the swing off across. It's Australia past midfield. Working it down this near sideline. Good continuations across the middle of the field. On the doorstep, a cut, having to wait for it, and big contact, and 1 there for Australia as they take us to the half. Looks like that was Jade O'Callahan.
Yeah, great catch there. Going up and almost stopping, and the Great Britain defender didn't react quickly enough to stop.
It's Australia taking the half as we take a second look at that nice catch, having to wait on it. Great concentration to keep the disc and hold on to it with the contact, and we'll be back shortly with more coverage here from Ultiworld. We welcome you back to the World Masters Ultimate Championships. We got a halftime interview here with Coach Simon Woods of Australia, Adekali and Katie up here in the booth. What were you seeing there in that first half? You guys showed some real grit and determination, and you're up 1 here at the half.
Yeah, throughout the tournament, we've just gradually got our lines together. The confidence, the coordination, and just the trust in the team. Just really, it's just happening. It's great.
We've seen a couple of miscues, you throwing floaty throws that go out of bounds or are outside. Is that something that is an error on your part, or is the defense forcing that? Like, what's going on down there?
Totally an error on our part, skill error, but there's a lot of pressure from the GB defense. It's hard to get open. It's sometimes we're having to force a tight contested pass. So I guess we just got to tell the team, just stay calm, something will open up.
Yeah, we saw Yuki Yamaguchi show some real energy after scoring one there in the end zone. Can you just talk about what that does for your team morale-wise?
Yuki is awesome. She's just the shining light on our team. She's always smiling, never gets down, and we just feed off her energy.
Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in the second half.
Cheers. Could I just do a shout out to all the Aussies watching at 4 a.m. in Australia? Thanks for watching the stream.
Yes, of course. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi.
Thank you, Coach Simon Wood, known as Woodsy, there with us as we look at the game stats. It's actually very close. Neither team has blown me away with their break ability to break, but they are getting chances. But the turnovers, it's 1 turnover apiece, and it's a 1-point game, and that's kind of what we expect in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, both teams really just going back and forth in this one. I mean, it's really resulted to a great contest so far here in this half.
It was really a half of turnovers. I think that, 13 and 14 turnovers a piece. For me, I think both teams will want to rein that in, but there were some really great defensive plays and catches in tight spaces. So these teams are really pushing each other, and we're going to see those fine margins separate them, I think, in the second half the way that we did in the first half. This was Australia just ripping into a break throw, not letting Great Britain get set. And I think that we're seeing also tactical changes with the defenses. We've seen several different types of zones. We've seen some poaching looks off the handlers that are forcing them into, but this grab in the end zone for Australia really that snag is going to live in my memory for a while.
See Link working it down the line, a contested catch by Thompson.
And Great Britain has put on a lot of pressure on this Australia side, but down a break, we're going to be able to talk with Great Britain coach Peter Wright. Peter.
Hi.
We saw you throw a lot of different defenses in that game, making tactical changes. What was the story of that first half for you?
Yeah, for us it was about putting pressure from the front with a kind of wall kind of look and trying to then exert pressure with match upfield. We thought that was really effective at the start of the game, getting us some good blocks which we were able to convert at the start. So that was the story there, and we just feel like our match defense, if we really put it in, they can't deal with it. So that's what we're going for.
We've seen a lot of defensive intensity. What is you going to try to do on offense in the next half?
Yeah, for us it's about kind of linking up the back a little bit more. I think we're getting stuck on one side, so just kind of looking to move the disc a bit more easily around the back. We think there's space. We think actually there's lots of space to work in. So just reminding our O-line that to be calm. They know how to do this. Maybe just a bit nerves, so just kind of be calm. You've got this. So we've got complete faith in them.
Are you sure you don't have 7 Claire Sharmans out there on the field? I mean, she seems like she's everywhere. Talk about her defensive prowess.
I mean, she's just incredible, right? I mean, those blocks are huge. She got 2 or 3 in the first few points, and yeah, she rises to the occasion, right? So this is the stuff she loves. So yeah, and people will feed off that, right? That's what we said about the second half. Like, we're going to come flying on match, and we're going to do it that way, and we think that's our strength.
All right, and then do you have any shout outs for the people watching from home?
Oh yeah, well if anyone is, it's a good time of day, isn't it, in the UK now? So thank you very much for watching. And we're going to try and bring this home.
All right, well, we'll let you get back to it as we get into second half action in the quarterfinal round. Great Britain coming out on defense. Australia up by 1.
Fisk there with that pull. No hesitation on that big flick. A good box out, and Reed corralled the whole way, but we're going to get a foul called.
Sam Fisk signaling that there was a push-off. But it was Karen Baker, KP, one of the captains of the Australia side, with that reception. Big throw going up, and you can see the change in direction necessary there. For me, that's so little contact.
There was negative extension. It was just a straight line cut down the field. So confused as to what Fisk may have saw from her perspective.
And looking at it again, you can see them change direction and maybe a misstep, but for me, there's no contact between those players. There's no step on a body part or a clear push off with an arm in that change of direction that would signal a foul. And I also believe that KP was in a position to get the disc. I don't think that Fisk had a great play on it, even if it was a second effort.
An inside shot looking for the back of the end zone. Surgical there from Australia. They go up 9-7.
I didn't see that receiver. I honestly thought it was a misthrow to the person in the lane, but Australia knew what was going on, and they punched that one in after a little bit of a wobble stoppage. Who knows what that was?
That's one we call ball don't lie. I mean, making that deep catch and then just the wherewithal to drop a dime into the back of the end zone. I mean, Jody Palmer coming out of frame to make that grab.
Yeah, so Great Britain is down one break in this game. But because of they started in the first half on offense, they will have to break at least once, if not twice. Twice? They must break twice to win.
So a little miscue
math.
there.
The Frisbee math.
A little miscue there from Great Britain.
Maybe the whistles that you hear are the game advisors, and so they are whistling to let you know that it is time to pull. But to my knowledge, there is not actually a penalization for being late. It's just, you have to listen to a lot of whistling.
So what kind of answer does Great Britain have? They're down 2. Immediately into that zone cup look there for Australia. And a run-through block there by Giesler.
Yeah, Giesler really doing a great job of stopping that flow and anticipating where that next throw was going to go as Great Britain was trying to break out of that zone and get the D.
Now Australia working it in their offensive set. The counterattack squad looking for a break opportunity. Working it down the far sideline. A give and go. Now a hammer, first time we've seen one of those. And it works out there for Australia as they go up 3.
What a hammer from Morrow. And that's Avril Tam with the score?
I believe so.
Yeah, Avril Tam was part of the commentating squad in Australia, working with the Ulti World squad. So shout out to her for not being behind the scenes, but on the field and notching a score for Australia. Now up 2 breaks.
If you see that run through block there earlier by Giesler. And just the confidence to make this throw cross field and just dropping a dime ball right there in the end zone. Picture perfect hammer throw.
Well, we've seen a poach look from Great Britain. There's a lot of players there on that sideline, and to find the space is a really great job. Normally you would see that as a blade, but the hammer comes in the other direction. Tam does a really good job of moving into position to be able to go get that.
So a game of runs, and Australia going on a run of their own. Real confidence here from the Aussies.
Morrow back on the field after that hammer.
Link looking to pick up here for Great Britain.
I like that they just went backwards to try to go around that zone early. They're doing a much better job of trying to get off that line, but they are getting stuck on this downfield side. I mean, that's the point of the defense as well. So,
yeah, Australia really doing a good job of mucking things up. Great Britain breaking through. Continuation across the field.
Now we see more of a person look as Australia is getting close to the end zone, finding that far side space.
Oh, great job of keeping that one alive.
And body rolling for the score after the huge layout from Carla Link.
I mean, bodies hitting the floor right now in this quarterfinal matchup. If that doesn't amp your squad up, I don't know what will. 10-8, Great Britain trying to battle back. Good offensive hold there for GB.
And they were much more patient and moving the disc around the marks of Australia. That one was almost overthrown. But Link does a really good job there, and then rolling clearly inbounds was body for that score. But they're doing a much better job of moving the disc and not letting that zone kind of sit in, sink in, really, shut down the lanes. And zones are defenses that mean you can't necessarily score in one throw, or you can't move up the field vertically with one throw, so you have to move horizontally in order to gain those yards. And it's one of those essentially like puzzles or puzzle pieces that you have to do as an offense, which is why people find it so frustrating, because it's not just player versus player. It is really tactical. You have to change the point of attack, and Great Britain is learning, but I don't know if they will have learned it fast enough, because they're down 2 and there are 35 minutes left in this game to 15.
Yeah, it becomes a mind game offensively when you've got a just churning zone look defense, really making you think and work. Deep shot down the line, wouldn't have gotten there anyway. Sharman was ahead of that intended receiver.
Certainly not the execution that they wanted, but it's a breath of air for Great Britain, and they squander it, just not reeling that one in.
So gift given back to Australia. They're going to take their time and set up their offense.
That was intended for Hamer.
It's a quick around, contested catch. You see their cuts are really deep down the field.
Yeah, but more of a person look.
As this one bladed with precision into the end zone. There is Karen Baker for the score.
Yeah, moving from the handler space, reeling that in. Once Australia gets in motion, they're really good at making those continuations. But they've been getting stuck, so good on them for moving that. Great Britain had a chance in that first throw turn. It hurts my soul, Adekale. It hurts it.
Yeah, you gotta take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah.
So we see this throw, just knifing in there from Gemma Coleman. Now, what do you think Great Britain is thinking here? How do they kind of spark themselves to get momentum back here in the second half?
I think they're coming out on offense right now. They need a clean, quick hold. They have been stymied. They have been just almost having to wade through the mud of that zone defense and work really hard for each score. I would love if they were able to get a fast break and go and score quickly, and then they can get their defense on the field and try to actually, punch back.
So into a matchup defense now for Australia. So work it across midfield. Good movement here from Great Britain. On the doorstep into the end zone. And just like you called it there, Katie, a clean hold there for Great Britain.
mean, and I think that's why Australia's been throwing the zone so much. It's because when Great Britain gets going, they're hitting those shots, and I think that they're really owning that deep space. The cutters are doing a really good job of creating space to cut back into. And so now they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to do it on defense.
So gotta put something on here defensively to slow down the Aussies in their attack and inch their way back into this contest.
I don't think. Here's the difference, though, is right, because I think that Australia's been playing this zone, and it's slowing Great Britain down. But Great Britain doesn't need to slow down Australia. They need to stop them. They need to actually get a D and then get the break. So maybe you call a defense that is a little bit more risky, that's really trying to sell out and get the D, because, you know, if it trades out to the end, you lose this game. So you have to get a D. It's not enough to just slow the other team down or make them work really hard. Like, you don't have that much time left in the game, a half hour.
Yep. It's got to be now, and it's got to be with your defense. Defense wins championships. If Great Britain wants to move on, they've got to put something on here defensively. And they're giving up a break side throw.
And they're electing to do a person matchup. Sharman in pursuit as that disc goes well out of bounds. And that was the pressure that they put on. That was a really tight defensive pressure on the marks up front, which yielded that turn.
So a break opportunity here for Great Britain. Let's see if they can capitalize.
You got this. Got a deep punch.
Really good pursuit there, but several yards out of bounds.
Matchup defense early on here for Australia. Nothing downfield. Having trouble electing to work it down the sideline, and just no one in that space. It's a tight window.
The handlers and the cutters are really getting pulled apart, and they aren't doing a good job of finding that next continue upfield or gaining yards. The handlers threw it back and forth between each other a lot, but not there, and they're going to give Australia here a short field.
A really short field, just about 10 yards away from the end zone. Now a blade into space put up and corralled in the end zone. That's a big-time statement from Australia.
Yeah, Gemma Coleman there with the snag. We've seen Australia come up with a couple of those. They are just owning the sky over Great Britain at the moment. What a snag. I think we all knew where it was going, and yet we still couldn't talk it. This is the turnover. The throw went out of bounds, never came back in. Almost feeling like an unforced turnover, but this throw from Oakley Mullen and the snag out of the sky under pressure from Great Britain. Great job for Australia then.
All smiles there from Coleman. Knows that's a big juice play for her squad as they're up 12-9 here in this quarterfinal matchup.
Yeah, you can see the music starting. We're really starting to get time. This is the first round of the day, but we have quarterfinal action coming at you all day long here on Ulti World. Thank you for joining us on this stream. But honestly, if you've enjoyed this, there's so much more to come. So go to Ulti World/subscribe and join us for the rest of this really great tournament and more exciting international action from World Masters. We stepped on the disc.
Party foul there by Great Britain. That one is a good souvenir for someone on the sidelines. Yeah, 1 for 8 on break chances there for Great Britain. They want to come back in this one. They're going to have to seize the moment.
They only have to seize it twice. right? They've had chances, but they can do it. They know they can. I think that they beat Australia earlier in the week. They just have to do it this morning.
Now Australia back in that zone look, which worked earlier defensively. And Great Britain carving up the zone currently. This one floating, a race towards the end zone, and that will go out of bounds. You hate to see it if you're a Great Britain supporter. Morrow with the disc, centering to Yamaguchi.
Travel called.
See another violation call.
What is the count?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
What is the count? Okay.
So work it down the line. A holster there by Mullen. Mullen sends an OI shot to the end zone. This one is blocked there by Body.
Great Britain keeping those chances alive. Really good defensive pressure. You can see looking to that far side space. You can see the receiver coming. Body just almost comes from nowhere, out of frame, really putting on the jets to get that defensive space. And it's going to be on that corner line with Australia in that zone. Look, those three defenders upfield.
Really no room for margin there in that end zone. But Great Britain working down this near sideline. Link trying to swing it across. Devani and a good continuation pass. Now they're really moving. Link thought about boosting it down the field. Disc really moving now. And to the outside, there for Body for the score.
Yeah, Link, Body, Bevan really moving the disc fast. It was Link with that score. Australia had a chance and Body said no. Body came out of nowhere to get that. Still a 2-point game. Australia is up by 2 breaks. So Great Britain gonna have to do it.
They're gonna have to make something happen defensively. So take a second look at just the offense moving around.
Yeah. And that was the really clean zone offense of Bevan to Link at the end for that score.
Smiles there from Link. Putting on there for Great Britain.
This guy? He's like a muppet.
So if you're watching from home, I'm sure that you know that inside joke. It's one of the things I actually love about these international tournaments is where you get such a not just an exchange of ultimate information, you know, the different systems and how teams are playing and their defensive and offensive schemes, but also, you know, what your team, what your community is like at home, how you're coaching, how, you know, your players and community members view you, and you know, just kind of those inside jokes and stuff. So I love it.
To quote Theo Wan, it's always for the culture. Love to see the different styles of ultimate and just the communities that build them up.
And a zone defense now from Great Britain.
Seeing our first, maybe our second real look at what this Australian offense looks like attacking a zone.
Yeah, they're moving it a lot, but they're not really able to gain many yards. Still stuck close to that brick mark.
This is a smart idea here from Australia. You're really tiring out that front cup. Having trouble, a higher stall count. And they might take one of those throws, Katie, a really creative throw to really open up the space.
Let's go, Foxes! Really great defense!
Yeah, a call upfield really just gives Australia a breather. After they've thrown so many passes.
Show it to each other, Ian! Here we go, Ian.
Some conversation there at midfield.
Foul, no contest, signaled by Sharman.
Here we go, Ian! Here we go, let's go, Ian! Let's go! Nice, Ian! Not coming, looking at Ian! Let's go, Ian!
Having trouble. This one hand blocked a little bit, I believe, by Sharman. We'll be going the other way here for Great Britain.
And this is where Great Britain really needs to knuckle down and get this disc in the end zone.
Thompson surveying. Centers to body. Back to Thompson. A couple of give and goes. Thompson directing traffic. Swing across to body. Nice cheeky left-handed backhand into space. Backdoor denial, straight robbery there for Australia. O'Callaghan.
And Great Britain is going to get back into this zone look, making them work again.
A myriad of pump fakes and confusion between the back handler, Sharman with the pressure. Back to Great Britain.
That front line, Sharman and the other players working together to really cause a miscue, and now they're so far away from the disc, you almost can't see the cutters over there, and quickly giving it back to Australia.
So back and forth turns. See another turn there as Great Britain gets it back. Still a break opportunity here for Great Britain. Close to the end zone. Body. Pick called.
Foul called. Upfield, it feels like Sharman coming through. There was some talk about body contact. But again, this is now a red zone possession for Great Britain. They're going to get the disc probably right here as players figure out where they should be.
Looks like another violation.
Was a little bit unclear about that tap in to come back. Stalling 0.
Body weighing her options. A little push pass, and this one almost completed there by Sharman, but popped out there at the end.
Heart-wrenching. Sharman has worked so hard in this point, along with Cheska Vettel and Joyce Kwok, that front three for Great Britain are really not allowing throws upfield for Australia. They're doing a great job. But to not get that break after all this effort, it just...
They're going to really have to work for it if they want that break. And now Australia just electing to keep swinging the disc across, work our way down the field. As they've broken through that zone. A swing across, this one floating.
Great Britain have melted into a person defense.
Sharman getting beat up the line, and then a front corner score there in the end zone. Looks like that is Taryn Anderson there with the score.
And that was, I think Great Britain just ran out of legs after running that zone point. They couldn't keep up after they'd had 3 turns and so many throws.
Yeah, Great Britain looked gassed there on that point.
I mean, and that's the risk that you take sometimes when you run a zone defense like that, knowing that you have a cup that's going to have to run a lot. At some point in all of those turns, you're going to get this. But Sharman was really on point here as she gets that block, which gave them their first break opportunity. Really good defense there. There's just a hesitation from these cutters, and the Great Britain cutters are also making kind of horizontal angles, which is actually really difficult to throw to. There's, on some level, letting the pressure of those Australia defenders change the angle that they're talking to, as KP got another turn there and gave it right back. This was a muddy part of the point, but it's that miss layout from Sharman who really had to do some heroic work to try to get that score, and it went all the way down the sideline the other way.
So good, some movement here from Great Britain as they're pushing forward. Australia back into that zone, looking at a run through block by Yamaguchi, and no contest will remain here with Great Britain.
Yeah, Bevan said that she had stopped rotation, and it was a foul. It looks like no contest from Yamaguchi.
Link. Inside to Bevins, back to Link, moving it across. Now they've got some room to work with now for Great Britain. Back across, Bevins. Pinched here on this near sideline. Link. Back across. Inches away here from the end zone. And around backhand for the score. Looks like that's Alex Nevitt once again finding the end zone.
It looks like there's an injury potentially on the field. Whether that was before or after the score is unclear. But either way, has medical, the trainer for Australia coming over to check that very quickly. And in a game like this, you never want to see anyone hurt. But especially when these two teams are so close and they've worked so hard in this game, it's really hard to see someone go down. And there, no contact, maybe an ankle. I don't want to speculate, but certainly not able to get up there.
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially when you've been working hard defensively and you just give all your effort to make a layout like that and come up hurt. Let's hope they're all right. Get some assistance off the field. So Great Britain down 2 now. 13-11 is your score if you're just tuning in here to the World Masters Ultimate Championship in the women's division.
There's only been one break in the second half going to Australia. Great Britain has certainly had their chances, but they haven't been able to convert. They've gotten closer and closer. We see Charmin back on the field as we see warm-ups for our next round. GB men's players. They're warming up and watching their fellow countrywomen.
So it's going to have to be now or never for Great Britain. They're going to have to make your stand now defensively.
And we're seeing this same front line for Great Britain.
Swing movement here from Australia, which we've seen with the zone just working it across. Sun in the eyes there of Australia.
But actually Australia has lost yards thus far. And then it becomes a patience game. How long are you willing to keep moving the disc back and forth before you get frustrated and try to punch it into the teeth of the defense? As we see a hammer fake going up over there.
Yeah, this is dangerous territory. Could be Callahan territory. So Australia continuing to work the disc.
Really, I was going to say, really great work by this defensive line up front that they're cutting off the next option. KP finally sneaking one through. Upfield to Mullen.
Some contact. Charmin there on the mark.
Now crumbling into a person defense.
Let's compete for those, Jimmy, here we go!
Pick called.
So it's a pick call and saying she wasn't that far. But if you weren't close enough, then you shouldn't call a pick.
Yeah.
You have to be within 10 feet or 3 meters.
Having trouble late in the stall count. Baker. Myriad of fakes. And a denial. Running through is Ayn Sham.
Yeah, Yan Sham has played excellent defense, playing in that wing position, and now the disc going out of bounds.
Just never really giving the receiver an opportunity to get back onto it. Some frustration there from Great Britain.
You know, it's interesting, what I was hearing actually from Captain Jenna Thompson was right swing, right choice, right. So it was just the execution, but I agree that there was a cutter open in that space. So I think the immediate encouragement of that is what I'm actually hearing from GB, which is unprecedented. Actually, there aren't many teams that have a turnover like that are saying that was good, keep going. So really good mentality from this GB side.
Swing around, corralled by Yamaguchi. Inside shot. Completed. Yamaguchi racing deep.
Yeah, Cheska Weddle feeling a little frustrated was the source of that turnover, and now really working hard on defense.
Well, really wanting it back badly there for Great Britain, and she gets just that well-earned defense there on that mark.
Yeah, high-fiving afterwards. That was a hustle mark right there. Really just stopping everything. And sometimes we see a timeout now for Great Britain in what is a back-and-forth point as they scrap for their lives, really.
Yeah, that's a smart heads-up timeout. You're tired. This is a break opportunity. You're down 2. Much-needed score.
Yeah, so while they take a timeout, I think we should see what happened in this point. And then you can see there's that pick call coming from the middle of the field, but you have to be within 10 feet and actively pursuing that person. Did she stop to avoid conflict? Or to avoid contact? Absolutely. But I think that's one of my gripes with the rules is that sometimes players aren't really consistent with that 10-foot mark. And then the defense on the mark on the other side really shutting everything down upfield and forcing the missed throw. And then Thompson, the captain, taking the timeout as they try to notch a break chance. They've only managed to put one in, and this is where the bracket stands. All of the other games are over. Canada beating Venezuela, United States over Germany, and Japan over New Zealand. None of those contests are close, but this one is still yet to be decided.
That's why it's the streamed game. Close, tight contest right here between Australia and Great Britain.
Yeah, who is going to face Canada in semis? We don't know. The other side of the bracket is going to be United States versus Japan. And now we see Australia coming to set up the defense. And Great Britain has about 65 yards to go.
Looks like Thompson will pick up the disc here for Great Britain. Australia electing to go into that person matchup defense. Dump off to Thompson. Immediately racing deep. And a deep shot put up now. Gonna have to come back to it. Yamaguchi, some contact, and no call. Good defense.
I also think a good no call. That was just trying to make the best of a bad situation. It was a late huck. It was not going to the place that the cutter was originally headed to, and you can see that there was some fake on the mark, but that throw going up and the receiver trying to read it, but not closing her hands around the disc.
Yeah, excuse me, that was Taryn Anderson there on the defense, doing an excellent job in the deep space. Australia pinned back in their own end zone. Forcing it in the middle there to Yamaguchi. Still working it is Australia. Just nothing down the field, Katie, for Australia.
As a cutter upfield, it's thankless. It's also a little bit more matchup downfield, so the three upfield are forcing the swings back and forth and not really allowing big, easy windows. And then upfield, it's almost person matching, so there's no obvious and easy space throw. It's really on the cutters to time those a little bit better. But if you've been making cuts over and over and over and over again, suddenly you're like, maybe I won't sprint it because they're not going to throw it to me anyway. And we get into situations like this where they're just stymied.
It seems like we've been in the same part of the field here for the last couple minutes.
But honestly, this is where having a player like Yukie Yamaguchi is very helpful, because the Japanese women's teams, play a lot of zone, and I remember a zone point that lasted 9 minutes with no turnovers, and that is going to be a no turnover possession for Australia, working it all the way against heroic defense from Great Britain, notching one more point for Australia as they are now one away from cementing themselves a berth in semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about how to work the disc in a zone, that was it. Patience.
Very patient at the end, and then finally finding that outlet. Great cut into space. Defenders just couldn't drop off fast enough to stop it. KP with the throw.
Threading the needle. It's world class. Australia now up 3, 14-11. Game point for them. Great Britain going to have to score and then get 3 breaks to tie it up, or 2 breaks, excuse me, to tie it up.
Yeah, several players wanting to sit in the shade and hydrate after that point. Really, like, as a defensive line player, I'm always like, my heart is in the defensive line. It doesn't really matter which squad it is, and to see them play such great defense, get so many turns and opportunities, and then not be able to get the break, like it was in Claire Sharman's hands. It was in the hands of another player, and they just couldn't do it as they work so quickly now. This other way, their offensive line scores so fast. Bevan to body.
And that's the confidence we would have loved to seen earlier in this second half. I mean, that was quick work there for Great Britain.
I mean, it's do or die now for Great Britain. Australia is going to be on offense, and all they have to do is not turn it over. But Great Britain, this is the end of the tournament for them, essentially, if they don't do this, as we see a timeout being taken. Because if they're going to put that defensive line on again, they're going to need a breather, because they just played what felt like a 15 or 20 minute point.
You do it. If you run 1,000 points, you go out and you run it again. If you're on the sideline, you've been doing a fantastic job. You keep that up. Okay, I am not losing this game right now. One, two,
As you see Sophie Bevan there with another great speech, trying to will her squad, fire them up. They don't want to end this right now. They want to keep playing.
Now, I am not going to lose this game. I mean, and that's what it takes. It takes that kind of mentality and grit. We've seen teams come from behind. Early in the tournament, in the Masters Open division, the USA was up 14-11 over Japan, and Japan broke 4 times in a row to win 15-14. Like, this game is not a foregone conclusion. But Great Britain is, I think, 1 for 12, 1 for 13 in break chances, and they have to be perfect from here on out, really. Like, they have to get those breaks. That's for me the difference in this game, is the break chances and the loss of those chances. It's really squandered opportunities. Looks like Tam there now on crutches after going down with a non-contact injury earlier. Hopefully that is more of a preventative measure, but doesn't look like she will be joining the field again on this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a whim and say Sharman has something to do with a block or rejection here on that front cup to give a break here for Great Britain.
And yeah, offside, and it is game to 15. And there is no hard cap, so Australia will have to score it. The clock will not end their misery. Not that this game has been misery. It is been very interesting to watch, and I love the change in tactics from both teams. We're seeing this front line again, the same three, Sharman and Weddle and Kwok.
Just moving the disc, not staying stagnant. And it seems like we've seen Australia, it doesn't matter how many swing passes go off. They don't care, as long as they keep possession.
They're gaining yards now more with their swings than they were earlier, so the handlers are doing a good job of pushing up as they move so that they're actually gaining yards.
It's a call made.
The way you two communicated sounded like a stoppage. So Joyce, I didn't stop because I realised, but I think she was too far to realise that. Yeah, I saw this and I was like, oh, okay. Sorry.
A very polite, I thought you called a foul.
Still trying to get their whereabouts here on positioning.
Yeah, no whoopsie. And now we're back in action. And it looks like Great Britain has crumbled to a person defense again. As you can see, body now on the mark, and a foul from that backside.
Almost
no contest.
About to say that was good rotation there on the mark, and
yeah, it was just a hand up on the shoulder, caught the backside of the disc while it was still in the player's hand, and the disc is an extension of that player's body and is therefore a foul.
Some contact once again.
Kwok getting very low on the mark.
Needing a reset. Working up the field. This is dangerous.
Is everyone okay? We're taking a moment.
Yeah, that was a lot. I think it was an upline and then a player coming underneath. And you can see that honestly, in my opinion, that is on the Australia team, the member who's coming from the cutter position, who can see it is their responsibility to stop that cut first. Because I mean, obviously you're doing it to save possession, but you are also really running your teammate into essentially a screen. You can see where the upfield player could have seen it and stopped, but the collision was created because of the decision to keep going.
Yeah.
Rough going there.
Yeah, it seemed like that was the upline cutter space, and Sharman in the air corrals the disc for the block.
Layout catch block.
Oh. And a quick turn back the other way. Just seemed like momentum there for Great Britain. So short field now for Australia. Game point. Game to 15. Trying to move on to the semifinals. Gonna have to put something up now into space and open in the end zone there for the score is Jodie Palmer. Finishing touches there for Australia. They're moving on.
$15, 12.
You see joy and jubilee there from Australia and dismay there from Great Britain. Sharman literally leaving every ounce of her body on the line to make a play and get her team back in the game.
It wasn't just Claire Sharman. It was every player on Great Britain. The full effort was there, and honestly, it's just that tired execution, those small errors added up to them not being able to come back in this game. A really different result than we saw in pool play, where Great Britain had taken down Australia 15-8 and then Australia's day was today. They played an excellent game, and that block is going to live rent-free in my head for a while. It was just so clean over Yamaguchi, picking up the disc, and then this turn, one throw later, too high, out of the hands. It's just those execution things that I think are going to haunt Great Britain, because it was not a lack of effort today. It was not a lack of tactics. They were getting huge blocks, team Ds, almost stalls and throws. It was just being able to play throw and catch all the way to the end zone.
I mean, look at the total turnovers really racked up here in the second half. But I mean, 1 for 14 on break chances. That will do it.
And most of those were in the second. Yeah, were in the second half. But we have down on the sideline Yukie Yamaguchi here from Australia. Yukie, can you talk to us about this win? What does it feel like?
It is very tough to describe, but we were here to play this game, definitely. So we prepared so many strategy and tactics stuff. We already played against this team, so we had some information. So we prepared. I think we prepared really well.
Yuki, you look like a spark plug out there on the field, really amping up your team. You got that goal in the end zone, and you were jacked up. We were jacked up here in the booth. Just talk about the energy you bring to the squad.
It's just because I understand my role in the field. So we have so many good hundreds. Well, I usually play as a hundreds, but this Aussie team has so many good players, which means I have to cut. And then running down, running go deep, and cut back. So I just understand what I have to do in the field.
You have previously played at World Club Championships with a Japanese team and have served as a translator. What does it feel like to be at a world event but not be on a Japanese team this time?
This is actually more relaxing for me because translating is very, very exhausting. So these teams, like translator-wise, I don't have to do not like anything. Well, to be honest, I did some translating in like the Japan game, but like it's more relaxing and then I can focus on myself more and more.
Well, we loved watching you play in that zone and have an excellent game. We are going to let you go back and celebrate with your team and look forward to seeing you in semifinals.
Thank you so much. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Congrats there to Yuki and Australia as they take this one 15-12 here over Great Britain. Just an exciting quarterfinal matchup here in this women's division. It was just so fun to watch, Katie.
It was also just a show of team defense. There were such great individual efforts across the board from each team, and I loved seeing the different tactics of zones, and this was also, I think, worth noting that the zones were working without wind. It's really changing the shape of the game and making players adjust, and I loved every second, every roll, every bid of this game. Like, this is what we were looking to do in the international stage.
So the final here in this one, Australia moving on 15-12 here over Great Britain. On behalf of Katie Killaroo, I'm Ada Kaliande. We say so long. Stay tuned here for more coverage right here on Ulti World.